You know that feeling when you prep for a sales call, get yourself ready, and then you sit there waiting because the prospect never shows up? I hated that feeling, and I knew if I wanted to fix it, I'd have to follow up way more and essentially chase people down. But doing all that manually, it was a complete waste of time and impossible to keep up with at scale. I realized I can't let this keep happening anymore, so I studied the psychology behind why it happens and tested a dozen different ways to fix it. And what I found changed everything. It led me to build an AI follow-up system that took my show rates from 40% to 85% and saves me over 10 hours a week now. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how this works, the psychology behind why these no-shows happen, the strategies you can use to prevent it, and how you can set up a system like this for yourself. So to start, I'll show you why this is such a big issue and maybe costing you tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, so I actually did a comprehensive study into the typical show-up rate most companies get. And to summarize the study, you'll see that the average show-up rate for most companies hovers around 40 to 70%. Which essentially translate to a 30 to 60% no-show rate, okay, for typical B2B sales appointments. And here's another table, and you'll see the typical no-show rate, again, it shows around like 43%. Why is this important? This is so important because I can just paint the picture with just plain numbers. So this is a no-show calculator, which would show how much money you would lose because of no-shows every month and every year, okay? So let's say you're a business and a typical lifetime value of a customer or the value of your offer is around, let's say, $5,000, okay? And let's say you get around 50 leads a month by running ads, doing content, whatnot, all right? And let's say you are a pretty good business, and let's say your show-up rate is around 60%, which still means because of your no-show rates, you are losing $100,000 a month. So if it's $100,000 a month in missed opportunities, that means it's $1.2 million a year that's just being burned, and you're missing around 240 missed opportunities, right? Every 1% improvement in your show-up rate could save you $30,000 a year. So let's say from that, you recover 30%, okay? 30% of that. That means you're recovering $360K in a year. That's why this stat is so important. It represents your literal ad dollars and how much money you're leaving on the table. So that's why this opportunity is so important to fix. By the way, if you want this no-show calculator, I'll leave it in the links down below. But the thing is, I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel because of the no-show rate. I generate leads, I'd book meetings, spend a lot of time babysitting people, making sure they showed up. Meanwhile, my current clients, they'd end up getting cold if I did all that follow-up. And this was causing burnout. So to fix this, I implemented a bunch of solutions, which I'm going to be taking you through. And step one of solving this issue is literally just this. It's first, I needed to track my show-up rate and see who came. And the way I did that was using Go High Level. And I'll take you guys through this in a little bit, but there's a couple automations where to figure out my no-show rate, I just set up some very simple workflows, which sent me an email after every appointment where it just tells me if this is a no-show, bad fit, etc. And I just have to click it and it does the rest and calculates it for me, right? So I'll show you that later. But the most important things we want to make sure is that we're tracking how many leads we are getting. That's number one. How many leads are coming to our site? And then how many people are actually ending up booking an appointment and how many people end up showing. So this is an example where we can see how many people booked, how many people confirmed, how many people canceled, how many people showed, how many people no-showed. The most important thing when it comes to solving business problems is just getting down and tracking it. But I wanted to make sure you guys know why this is so important and what things to track, because we're going to be diving a lot deeper soon. And when we started tracking, we could actually find these kind of results. And let me show you something where we were working with a client, and this is real results. Where I remember we were helping a client and he had an offer which was worth around $5,000 and he was getting around 400 leads, okay? And we remember that he had very low follow-ups or touch points per every lead. So from that 400, he would get around like 10 appointments to show. So when we started doing more follow-ups, we could get a way higher appointment rate and then a lot more people would show up. Okay. Which means his closing rate increased and he made way more money. Like he almost 3x the amount of money he makes just by fixing one aspect of his business, right? But to understand why these no shows even happen, we need to dig deeper so we can actually fix it. So let's go into that. By the way, guys, if you want results like this, but don't want to dive into the theory or mess with any of this yourself, just click the link below and we can help you out. So the reason no shows even happen in the first place, this represents what it is. And number one, it's just forgetfulness. People simply forget about the meetings or they have busy schedules. So for each one of these, I'm going to be showing you how we can fix these. The other ones are just calendar issues where people just don't hit accept on the calendar, so they never get reminders. And then they might even have link problems. Like people, I remember, they just don't know where to find the meeting link. But the bigger, deep-rooted reasons why no-shows actually happen is the next couple, which is they perceive the meeting to be unimportant. So that after we learned how to fix this was a massive game changer. Because, people will just have other priorities and that may take precedence over whatever you are doing. This combined with not actually building rapport with the client before the meeting also results in some disinterest, which means they're also less likely to show up. Ultimately, it's a lack of trust. If they don't trust you or care about the meeting organizer, they're not going to show, right? So I'm going to show you the system after this, which helped us fix a lot of these problems. Okay, so this is like the tip of the iceberg and the first things we can do to make sure we are getting less no-shows. And these are just the easy fixes, all right? So easy fix number one is the 72-hour rule. So whenever we are scheduling a meeting with someone, just limit the scheduling to max 72 hours out and have as many time slots as you possibly can. This makes sure people don't really forget as much. And this has been shown in a lot of studies where if it's more than 72 hours out, it's a problem. It also creates urgency and the issue is always going to be top of mind. And with this small of a time frame, this also minimizes a lot of cancellations and even you can capitalize on the momentum because everything is top of mind. All right. So this is easy fix number one, where you just make sure you let people book within 72 hours. Okay. So easy fix number two is just make sure you have a thank you page. So if you have a dedicated thank you page where, you're telling people that after they just booked the appointment to go to their email and to hit accept, I literally have a confirmation page set up here with a video telling people, hey, this is what you have to do. All right. I'll show you this example. This is my page. And I have a little video that you can take and copy. But it basically just shows what you need to do and a bunch of other testimonials we have as well. All right. So when you have this, we've seen that it can boost show up rates by additional 30% just because it triggers the automated reminders and it also solidifies the commitment. All right. So these are just the easy tip of the iceberg fixes. But there's one more. After they do accept, then this is from the data we've seen to be the best follow-up cadence, where right after they book, we want to make sure we send like a warm, personalized reminder and state the objective and the value for the prospect. And then we want to send some reminders 2 days before, if that's when they book, then 7 hours before, the morning of, an hour before, and 15 minutes before. These are just quick automated reminders. You just have to click a button on Calendly and it does it for you. These are just the easy fixes, right? But let's move on to the most effective hacks that make sure that the prospect actually knows, likes, and trusts us. And this will also build a lot of urgency and confidence in you as a provider, which, and this is my favorite part, makes your sales process significantly easier. Okay. And the elements that make your sales process significantly easier is what we're going to be talking about. And it solves problems that deal with making sure the prospect sees your value, how you make sure you are a priority, how you build a relationship, how you build trust, and these should already be solved with the easy fixes, okay? Essentially, the goal of what we're going to be trying to achieve with what I'm going to be showing you next And this is the most important idea to understand is we are essentially pre-selling. So the sales call can be done by anyone. All right. So let's move on to that. And the way we do that is the AI nurture sequence. And this looks a little intimidating at first, but when we break it down, it's going to be pretty simple to understand. Okay. So imagine someone just went through a call funnel. They booked a call and then they went through the confirmation page. What do we do next? Right. And the thing we need to do next is put them through a pre-call sequence. And what the pre-call sequence is, it's a specifically designed system to ensure you're building trust with your prospect before they book. There's a couple different sequences to this. First of which is the automated reminder sequence. And what is the automated reminder sequence? So let's dive in there. And the automated reminder sequence is just a list of things you can be doing to make sure they're reminded enough and they have a personal concierge that kind of guides them to the call, which means rather than just using email and SMS, what we want to be doing is sending them a video message. So let me show you an example of that. Okay, so I just found a little picture to show you. But essentially, what happens is you'll notice a couple different things. This is after someone opts in from an ad. They get a personalized video from us, and it's an agent that's going to be calling them. And that's what makes this the AI nurture sequence. The AI calls them and confirms their acceptance and makes sure they're guided through. And if they have any questions, answer those. The SMS, and you will notice that it's iMessage, so this works really good in the USA. And this works where you see we like do things like split messages, so there are two different messages, so it's easy to talk to. All these little things, it's things we put in our system to make sure we have the best show ups possible. All right, so that's just one way we're qualifying our leads. Then you can just rely on these automated SMS and emails. But the morning of, this one is very huge. Okay, so what we do is the morning of the meeting is use our AI to call the prospect and make sure to confirm again. Okay? And if it can't, the AI itself will reschedule the meeting if something comes up. This part has been massive when it comes to saving more leads. Okay? And everything else is just automated SMS emails. But 15 minutes before, we just realized this one is pretty huge, where we just want to send a meeting link. Okay. So this part is just automated reminders and multi-channel reminders. So there we're using call, texts, emails to make sure our prospects are guided through and they have all the resources they need to make sure they attend the call. So this part is just fixing the issues of making sure they know us and then they remember the meeting. All right. All this stuff looks a little daunting, but it's actually really easy to set up with what I'm about to show you later in the video. All right. So that takes care of the automated reminder sequence. Now I want you guys to understand the engagement sequences, and all these are basically pre-selling mechanisms that we employ to make sure our prospects know, like, and trust us. So what does that mean? So before the call, this is the pre-call sequence. If we have their email and they're ready to talk to us, we make sure they know who we are by introducing the brand first. We introduce our offer and a guarantee. We show them the system behind how we actually deliver the stuff and the benefits of what they would get. All right. And then this is like all the first day. And what we're going to be doing is just sending them these kind of educational emails throughout, where we're going to be going through stuff like their pain points. We're going to be showing them how we would solve those pain points, more solutions. And this is huge. Right before the meeting starts, or the day of, we want to send the meeting agenda. And this is super professional when we want to actually work with high ticket clients. And ideally, we want to address any objections preemptively. So if you have other sales calls, you can most likely scrape a bunch of objectives and then make emails based off that. With that and sprinkling a bunch of testimonials and social proofs, all of this helps to make sure that the prospect knows, likes, and trusts us. And this is like around 4 to 6 emails a day, which does sound super excessive. But here's the thing. If someone is serious about working with you and they know the value you can provide and how much money you can save their business or even make their business, they probably do want to get educated before the call so they have some idea of what they're getting into and how you can even help them. All of this you can also do for their own company, which would probably make sure they're making more money as well. So it's kind of a win-win. Initially, people are like super daunted by this, but it's just a system after you think about it a bit hard. Like, why we do this and what we've seen is this increases our close rate by 10 to 15%. It's really cool because the prospects are warmed and educated about what exactly we do, and then they're sure we're the right person because of all that social proof, which means the sales cycles are also super shorter because everything has been proved out, right? So doing this stuff seems like a lot of work, but let me show you how to implement this. Okay, so how all this is done is literally just done with two tools. It's you can use Go High Level or any CRM of your choice. It can be HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever, it doesn't matter. And Booked In is what uses and triggers the AI agents that are doing all this stuff, and a lot of stuff we have pre-templated out. Let me show you how to do that, all right? So in High Level, you'll see it's a simple workflow trigger where all we're doing is whenever an appointment gets booked out, we're calling a webhook, and this webhook is basically just calling our Booked In agents, all right? And let me show you Booked In, what's going on there, and what you need to set up. It's actually really straightforward. Okay, so in Booked In, what you need is to one, set up a system or an agent. And it's as easy as filling a form. So if you, let's say, have an ads agent running, you can just come here, hit the instant response, and just fill out the form, and it'll create you an agent. Okay. So after you fill out that form, you'll probably have an agent like this, where the prompt is going to be all written for you. The channels are going to be connected. So you see this one can do voice, SMS, iMessage, WhatsApp, etc. But and then all the tools like it can talk to my Google Calendar, it can end calls, whatnot. But the biggest thing is this. This is what I want to show you guys. All right. So we actually have this proactive AI feature where all you have to do is literally just click on this button. After you toggle this, it does all that stuff I just showed you, where it literally has a guidance to do all the instant follow-up. So let's say someone calls back to your AI agent, it can do that, handle it, do all the rescheduling. It can send the reminders. It can handle the no-shows. Okay, so for example, let me go to my inbox and show you a lead. Okay, so this was me. I was playing around with it. Here is the activity, all the call. But what I want you to pay attention to is right here in the activity, you see the AI makes the decisions to make more follow-up decisions and keep following up with the lead. Okay, it will automatically, like AI follow-ups. You see this? It schedules its own follow-ups. If something is scheduled or rescheduled, it doesn't matter. It behaves on its own. All you have to do is just trigger that, and that's about it. And if you're curious how the emails were done, so in strategies, I'll show you this. Okay, so right here, you'll see like after a webhook gets triggered, we send them like an iMessage, and then we send them a bunch of emails, etc. We'll double dial them, all that stuff. All this is showing you is more of that sequence, all of this stuff. Okay. But let's say these people, the person we just booked with, they end up no showing. What happens then, right? This no show button, this pops up. And during the meeting, let's say, or after the meeting, you click this button. What ends up happening is the booked in agents is going to go on a manhunt. So I'll show you a quick little example. So right here, I remember I showed this right here, marked as no show. I hit the button. And what happened was the AI, you'll see, after I hit that button, scheduled all these follow-ups. You see? So it scheduled all these follow-ups and then started sending texts like this. Like, hey, noticed we missed each other for the booked in call or whatever. If you're and then it tries to get them booked in. So this is like a step, even after you got a no-show, we can chase them, right? But it's as simple as that. I wanted to make sure you guys understood how easy it is to implement these kind of no-show systems that is responsible for getting results like this. But the thing is, all this is cool, but you won't really even have appointments if you don't have the leads to begin with. So to understand how you can get more leads, watch this video right here where I show you how you can set up a system to get a lot of inbound leads on autopilot.